The Secrets of Stargate is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, Episode 17.
Lieutenant West, Jackson has identified the seventh symbol.
All right, here we go. We are about to try to make a connection.
All we gotta do is bust out of here, commandeer the ship, and fly on home.
Indeed. You say that a lot.
I know that this could be dangerous. But this is our job, right? It's what we signed on to do.
It was never about going home. It's about getting us to where we're going.
Hi, I'm Jack Barazzini, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
Today, we are discussing the 17th episode of the first season of Stargate SG-1 Enigma. And stick around after our discussion, and we'll have some feedback from our fans. The team visits the planet Tollan to discover that it is undergoing cataclysmic volcanic activity. They discover a group of dying people with impeccable fashion sense, and bring them back through the Stargate before they are suffocated by the volcanic ash. The Tollans, upon waking, are extremely disdainful of the primitive humans of Earth. Carter gets a new crush, a Tollan man named Nerim, who is almost as bland as Vedic Burial. The team discover that the gate has been destroyed by the volcano. We are introduced to Colonel Claiborne, who, under the authority of the President, take the Tollans and their advanced technology for use in the U.S. weapons program. The SG-1 team conspires to let the Tollan escape to the planet of the Nox. The Tollans are able to escape due to some wonderful acting on SG-1's part. What are your thoughts on this episode, Lisa?
I have to say, for Carter's first boyfriend, we're going to go through many, many, many little crushes there. And so I like that. I love seeing the Nox. It's just, I don't know, it's a good one. We're into the good stuff.
Yeah, it was a good world-building episode.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Victor?
Yeah, I remember liking this episode maybe a little bit more than I did. Now it's a little slow paced, but it does introduce probably the best bromance on the show. And that is, of course, the relationship between Colonel Jack O'Neill and Colonel Mayborn, who is unequivocally the villain, or in this episode, but later in the run of the series will evolve to become so much more. And you see a little hint of it at the end when Colonel Mayborn realizes he's been betrayed by SG-1. He gives Jack a little look, and that just presages the whole their whole burgeoning whatever you call it. It's a love-hate thing, I think. So mostly hate.
I love that. I'd forgotten that Mayborn was in this episode, that he was introduced so early in the series.
Yeah, one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite character arcs, and they use him judiciously too. It's always a treat to see him show up. Tom McBeath there.
I like how villainy he was. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting that they got rid of the other guy so quickly. I wonder if maybe it was just the character wasn't working out, or the actor really didn't want to stick on. I looked that up and I couldn't find anything about that, so I wonder what decision went into switching him out.
Yeah.
So just forgettable, right?
Yeah, that's
his name. So
Colonel Kennedy, right? The one who wanted to ship Teal'c off in episode 2, I think. They go through a series of extreme colonels who General Hammond has to stand up to and threaten to call the president over. Only in this episode that actually backfires.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Mayborn just grows into this completely awesome character.
Nice.
I think I counted 11 episodes that he is featured in.
Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't realize it was that many, but that is
either.
excellent. Yeah. Yeah, that is. Yeah.
And he could show up in others, but those are just the ones that they said he was primarily big role in. So that's cool.
This episode is also something I can add to my essay I want to write someday about the prevalence of orange cats in science fiction.
Oh.
Because you got you got Jones in Aliens, you have Spot in Star Trek. There's another one. There's at least two. I'll take that as a science fiction movie.
Yeah, Tale of Two Kitties, definitely.
Yes. You've got this, and then there's at least one more that I'm blanking on, but it seems like whenever there's a cat in a science fiction movie, it's always an orange cat, other than The Matrix.
How many of them truly, though, have a sci-fi name?
That's true.
That's true. And like Schrodinger's cat, like wasn't, the mainstay in like, science fiction culture, I don't think, or at least TV science fiction culture that it was, that it is now back in 1997 when they rolled that out. So that was actually quite clever. And I do love how Major Carter expects, Nareem to get the joke, even though he has no familiar with, like, he's like, Schrodinger, the cat's name is Schrodinger, right? Schrodinger's cat. And he's like,
Yeah.
And then he says, "Oh, yeah, that was what debunked elementary science or something."
Yeah, his what does he call it? I don't know.
Misconceptions of
equilibrium.
Physics. Yeah.
Science. And I mean, if that wasn't enough, we get a very, very special guest star here. Tobin Bell plays Omok.
Oh yeah.
And I've not seen the Saw movies, but I understand he's the main villain. He's Mr. Jigsaw or something in all of those, who sets up the elaborate, traps and stuff for people. So not my cup of tea, but he's definitely a very good actor at playing. I think they call him obstinate, but really he's just kind of a jerk.
Yeah, he really is. I'd like to see how he gets along with the Nox on their planet, because they're so hippy dippy, and he's just not a nice guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm scrolling through his IMDb, and oh yeah, I had no idea he did so many of these horror kind of movies.
You see that with a lot of these, like Vancouver, like Stargate and other actors who do this, and they'll do Supernatural, they'll do Psych, and then I guess Vancouver must have a very big low budget direct to video horror scene or something, and because that's kind of like the people wind up in this like loop of just doing this over and over and over again, so it pays the bills, right? I would do it.
Yeah. It's either that or end up on Hallmark. So yeah. Speaking of Nareem, I forgot his Garwin Sanford. He's in a bunch of Hallmark shows. So
I was about to say he looks really familiar, and I went through his IMDb and I could not find anything that I'd actually seen that he was in. I think he just has that kind of guest star looking face.
Yeah.
He's also in Stargate Atlantis, which is really interesting if you think about it, that he's in Stargate SG-1 at least 3 times, and you refer to him several times other than that, and then the same actor shows up as someone else in 3 episodes of Atlantis.
Who does he play in Stargate Atlantis?
Dr. Weir's boyfriend, husband.
Oh yeah,
Simon.
He's even more boring in that. He's like the boring Christopher Plummer. It's like
that's a good description of him. He looks familiar, and I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
He also kind of looks like Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's got that same kind of face.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I do like his Day the Earth Stood Still jumpsuit, that I guess all the Tollans wear and stuff. Like he's gonna jump out and say like Klaatu Barada Nikto or something and make Gort go back into the saucer or something. It was very like 1950s sci-fi chic there.
You didn't like that.
I also like how they're the supposedly very, very advanced aliens, or not aliens, but very, very advanced people from another planet. And then the first time you see them clearly, they're all wearing like these weird, they look like spray painted silver rugby hats. And then they clearly just have like safety goggles that you'd pick up from like Home Depot on.
Yeah.
Props department was running a little light that day.
They did a really good job with the landscape when they come through the Stargate. Like, I really liked that visual.
Yeah, for digital matte or digital compositing of the the background and then the actual set, it was actually really good. It's not up to today the Mandalorian standards where everything is filmed on that screen and stuff. But as an early version of that, I think it did work very well.
And it did. I don't know how many minutes we're in, but it did remind me of the Guardian of Forever from Star Trek.
Oh, I have a drink, so let me.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, and you mentioned Vedic Barile, and
oh, that's true.
And just before we recorded this, we were watching the season 6 episode where his mirror universe double comes over, and is marginally less boring than Vedic Bareil, but yeah, still a comatose performance, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, it's Carter's first love interest. You gotta build up slowly, right? She's gonna get some more interesting ones. We'll get there.
I like that replicator guy. 7 or whatever his name was, or 5?
Fifth.
Yeah.
I like at the end when she's saying goodbye to him and he hands her his little emotion box. And it just looks like a McDonald's toy, like a McDonald's like what's the game on Simon?
Yeah.
Press the red triangle.
Yeah. And how
How
weird
creepy would that be, right?
It's incredibly creepy. It's like I won't show you how much I love you. I won't earn your trust or your affection. Rather feel like my creepy emotions, and then you'll know how I think about you. And any sane person would be like, "No thanks, I'm out of here."
Of course, maybe you know what? Maybe SG-1 has like a bucket list thing, or one of those bingos, you do, where check the box off, like kiss an alien. I mean, I think she's I guess Teal'c hasn't yet. But, Jack and Daniel, they got it. So now she gets to check that box. So maybe that's all it was, right?
Yeah.
Like
we do get that whole like science fiction, like original series Star Trek, like, what is kiss? Kind of moment. It's like, we have a custom that expresses more than words. It's like, why, yes, on our planet, we also express affection in such a manner.
Yeah,
it was a little cringy.
Yeah.
To say the least. We also have, during the debriefing, we have Daniel Jackson talking about how if it hadn't been for the Dark Ages, then humanity would be colonizing the stars right now, which is just such a worn out and inaccurate view of the Middle Ages.
Because all of the cultures that didn't have the Middle Ages have been to the moon and back so many times.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe they have, for all we know. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's been thoroughly debunked, so we can put a big myth busted over that one.
Right.
But just in case, there is a very nice video from SQPN's own Jimmy Akin on the Catholic Answers site that you can watch related to that.
Yep, we'll link it in the show notes. I'm excited to see if there's any sort of repercussions for Daniel just flagrantly ignoring any sort of orders. And no, there's not.
Well, he's a civilian.
Not this time, yeah.
And there's no laws against helping aliens escape. Otherwise, that kid from E.T. and Mac and Me and all of them would be behind bars.
They're all in the prison from Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
That's where they wind up.
Oh, interesting moral dilemma on this one. So who brought up you can't do that to them? They have rights. Did those
Daniel.
Daniel, right?
And he cares about that kind of thing.
Didn't we try this once before? Someone brought up that the symbiote the Gould might have rights.
I think so.
On like Enemy Within, like way back.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't remember. I went to go back and listen because I know we talked about it. And I thought, oh, there that comes up again, where they said, no, of course the Gould doesn't have rights, the symbiote. And now here they are arguing that these other aliens have civil rights.
I guess his argument is that they're actually humans, and so it falls under the whole umbrella of human rights. But he obviously hasn't studied world history very much, because if a government needs something from somebody, they're not really going to pay attention to that.
And they kind of leave that open too. Like Daniel does say all humans, evolved on Earth, but the Nox aren't human. So I never was clear in my own mind if the Tollans were human or not. But maybe after this, we can say that they are.
Or the light, the Tupelo, were they human?
Yeah, they were Minoans, right, or something.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and that was a very good speech by Jared Plunkett as Tupelo there, the leaders of the Minoans, which they set that up really well, where he gives this very eloquent speech welcoming him, and he'd be honored to have them in his planet. And then Omok says, you're even more primitive than these Earth people, and We want nothing to do with you. But
And yet he didn't get offended.
that's true.
Yeah,
I guess he's used to it.
zen.
Another actor who's all over Hallmark, by the way.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he also played Fishman in the Fishman episode, which I'm blanking on. Fire and Water.
Oh, that we just saw.
That was him?
Yep, that was him.
Nice.
Oh, I forgot already.
Well, he was much more eloquent here than in that episode.
That's true. Okay, so Walter is credited in this episode. Did we see Walter?
Oh yeah, he's like a computer genius in this episode. He's the one who cleaned up all the footage that was completely irrecoverable and somehow recovered it to the point where you can like see in high definition like the effect of the Tollan phase shift devices going through the walls, and really cool to see the Tollan phase shift devices listed here. There's whole YouTube videos that you can watch about those, but
He did
again,
enhance.
yeah, he did. He hit the like zoom in on quadrant J7. Now enhance. Yeah.
I do find it funny that they're really incredulous that the Tollans have this kind of technology when you're using a Stargate. Like, is it really that inconceivable that someone else might have something like that? They can,
Like, we're going to be the most advanced humans out there?
yeah. Like, they're acting like, oh, this is impossible. It's like, it's clearly not. You've got a bigger version of it.
Although they do poke fun at this in either, I think it's the Wormhole Extreme episode where they poke fun of this, where the Major Carter character is talking to the show's creator and is saying, but like, I don't understand. Why does it just fall through the floor? Which is a question that's come up every time you watch, the episode of Next Generation where Geordi's out of phase and stuff. But yeah, I guess the Tollans at least have figured out how to make the bottoms of their shoes not phase shift or.
There are actually like hour-long YouTube videos where people will go over the reasons that the gravity plating in the hole is why they don't fall through the floor on that episode.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Those Romulans are pretty crafty.
Did they clear that up?
Yeah.
it's the headcanon, yeah. I do also like that we get the very typical sci-fi trope of let's bend something to show you how space warping works. They didn't do it with the pencil and the paper like they usually do, but it was pretty close.
Yeah. No, this is I think probably my favorite episode or favorite moment of the entire episode where he's like, oh yeah, relativity. Omak bends the stick and says these points seem far apart until he touches them together, and Danny's like, oh yeah, relativity, and Tobin Bell, he like does an Eddie Murphy take towards the camera. I've watched it like 3 times, and he's actually looking a little bit like off to the side of the camera lens, but it's almost like he looks right in the camera and then goes, you wouldn't understand, but yeah. No, you wouldn't understand.
Hanging a lantern on it, yeah.
Yeah.
I like how General Hammond kind of finesses that whole situation where he's supporting Jack and Daniel and everyone in their insurrection, like minor insurrection against the president. But he does it in a way that he's not really responsible. Although I still feel like there's going to be some sort of recourse based on his leadership, but
Yeah, he really doesn't have to worry about that. They just send him a few more like mean colonels, I guess, that he has to like say, that wasn't an invitation, it was an order, colonel, that sort of thing too. But we don't actually get to see this president that Daniel Jackson voted for. I think it's one of the next presidents who becomes a character on the show, but they refer to this president, whoever it is, but I don't think we actually see this one.
I don't think so either. I did think it was nice that way. You can't always count on General Hammond being able to pick up the red phone and always get out of trouble, right? There's just sometimes it doesn't work. So that was nice that they kind of quit that, get out of jail free card this early in the series.
And I have to go back and see too if they had referred to anybody else as working for the NID, or if Mayborn is like the first like actual NID, because they become like a major like villainous force on the show. I don't know if Kennedy was or any of the other folks, so I'll have to look that up.
I don't either.
They're like the Section 31 of Stargate.
Yeah, they're kind of slippery.
This was our first UAV, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. I had that circled with exclamation points, and yeah, it's good to see that. And I do love how they give this great big like countdown to basically like launching a drone, which now it's like, your 6-year-old like is like and off they fly and stuff. They're like, okay, 10, 9, and they go through the whole countdown. This little like flies away. It's like, okay, they didn't really need that big of a buildup, but
it's like
it was a pretty big deal. Yeah.
So wasn't one of the problems previously with the Malps that they could not transmit information back through the wormhole? But this thing was sending live data as far as I could tell in the episode.
No, radio waves go bidirectionally through the Stargate. You do have to have something kind of like keeping the Stargate open, whether that's energy or sometimes even I think the radio waves themselves can keep the Stargate open, or like if you like hold it open with a stick or something. But yeah, radio waves are like the only things that can go two directions.
I like that visual. Hold the Stargate with a stick. That's good.
Well, I think in one of the previous episodes they did use like the muzzle of their rifle or something to hold it open or something. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of sticking something in front of your garage door, the sensor, so that when it closes, it just goes right back up.
Mm-hmm.
Was it about how like forward Nareem is? I mean, he does have game. I have to like recognize game, I guess, but he was laying it on very thick. He was like, oh, we have this tradition of angels. They're the most beautiful creatures in the galaxy, and they come visit us at our death, and we're so grateful to be dying just to see a beautiful person, and they look just like you. It was like, okay, like dial it back down to like 7 or 8.
Calm down.
Yeah.
I was just wanting him to start singing Earth Angel to her.
Yeah. He does have the blandness for it. But,
Do you know what's interesting though? This isn't the last time. It was the first time, not the last time. Carter actually gets one of these guys that's like, "You're such an angel. You're so amazing. Like I just met you. Actually, I just saw you, and I'm in love." And it's not the only time this happens to her.
and that never happens to Teal'c.
I think it's happened to Daniel though a few times.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. That one who kept putting him in the sarcophagus over and over again. Yeah.
Right. Okay, was that not the most awkward A, kiss, and B, Daniel walking in?
I liked his reaction. Whoops.
So, yeah.
That was good. I also like when she takes him outside for the first time, he sees a bird and he's like, "It's a flying animal." You're really supposed to be this advanced species, and you're like, "Oh, look at this flying animal."
Whoa, there goes another one. Did you see that? A snowflake. Did you see that? A snowflake. No, it's like the kid in your first grade class who's excited to see a snowflake, right? You're like,
well, I'm in Texas. We're very excited.
That's right.
To
Sorry, we're up here in Michigan, and it's like, yes, we know it's October.
Yeah, no, big deal.
Yeah,
big
if you're
deal.
still excited in April, like, let us know. Yeah.
Like he came across as very, very naive, and I feel like that was a lot of his like interactions with her. It was like, "This is your first crush, man." Like,
he gave her his emotion box. Come on.
Yeah.
So it's like a promise ring, right?
it's like a mix CD.
Yes. Like a mixtape.
From what you see of like,
He was projecting Wonderball directly into her brain.
yeah. Oh no. Dream Lover by Mariah Carey or something. Or no, it wasn't. Never mind. Check that out. But Sarah McLachlan, that was it. Yes, Sweet Surrender by Sarah McLachlan. That's what you want to beam into people's brains, and sticking to it.
I think that's against the Geneva Convention. Yeah.
Oh, do you think it was maybe they were just trying too hard with the contrast between him and Omok? Grouchy old man, wide-eyed, not so young old man.
Yeah, from what you see of like the rest of the Tollans later on, you can't really blame Nareem from like casting his net further than just that particular group of people. They're not really warm in general.
No.
Yeah.
No. Lots of gray.
Yeah.
So they kind of set up that they're this really advanced species, and we get a few hints of that, but we don't really get any sort of like context for their culture. So it's really hard to know like where either of them are coming from on that. All we know is they don't like humans, and they're very advanced, and they have little Simon games.
Well, what'd you think about their reason for not wanting to share their technology? I'd actually kind of forgotten about that.
No, Sarita, yes. Yeah, they shared some technology. The Saritans blew up their planet and knocked Tollan out of orbit somehow.
So were they upset that the people destroyed themselves, or were they upset that it destroyed their own planet?
Probably both, I would say.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
They're kind of what you get if you take like the Prime Directive and like build your whole like society around that, you know?
Yeah, they did kind of reference that whole idea of once they were to a certain level of development, they would make contact with them. But I mean, it's like that YouTube video of like the chimpanzee who gets a machine gun. Like if you're a more, and starts just like shooting it off in the air. Like if you're a more advanced,
I haven't seen that, but that's the first thing I'm going to do once we stop recording. Yeah.
I am 50% sure it's real and 50% sure that it was like a viral advertisement for one of the new Planet of the Apes movies, but I'm going to go ahead and believe it's real because that's more fun.
Okay.
It seems like it'd be pretty easy to like reproduce that and find out if it was real or not, but probably not without going through a lot of chimpanzees in the process. So I can see why they wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
You're gonna knock on your door.
Yeah.
But yeah, I honestly kind of agree with Omek's reasoning on that, especially the way that he is treated by Mayborn. It's like you're kind of just proving why he's right about this right now.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, I mean, everything you can. What's great about this episode is that you can see, Omok's justification. You can see SG-1's justification. You can even kind of, to a certain extent, understand, Colonel Mayborn. Like they'll be put up in the world's best internment camp. And yeah. So I mean, and obviously Mayborn's wrong and stuff, but it's a little while before he realizes that.
Yeah, he does try to take Teal'c again.
Yeah.
There's that. Yeah. But then we had the Nox. Oh, yeah. We didn't talk about the fact that the Tollan know the Gould, right? Mm-hmm. And they say, what? We just don't interact with them. And so Daniel says something about their, common enemy? And Omok's like, they're not our enemy.
Yeah. Did I say enemy? Yeah. And yeah, the Gould is eventually their undoing. But we'll get there.
So it's interesting, though, that the Nox, it took them that long to think about the Nox because it very much paralleled how the Nox's attitude was. We just kind of ignore the Gould. They exist, we exist, we hide.
Right.
On the other hand, if you're trying to impress the Nox, probably the last thing you want to do is introduce them to the Tollan. Yeah. It's kind of like these two people would you'd be really good if I introduced you to that person, but I don't want to burn through my credibility with them.
Yeah, I don't think that they would really get along just based on their attitudes. Like Daniel says, the Nox are way more polite.
Unless you go with our headcanon that the Nox living on the planet are exiled in some way because maybe they were too hippie-ish and the people who live on the city are more like the Tollans. I don't know.
Idea.
Maybe so.
And do we see more of the Nox later on?
Yes.
Okay.
On Tollana.
Yes, that's right.
With the Tollan. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's the next time we see her. Is the next time we see the Tollan.
Yeah, and it's another Measure of a Man Space Court episode.
Yep. Only
yeah, so
not Teal'c that time.
Yeah, you have that to look forward to. But I think the scene with her was done very well. The tension with the Air Force personnel with their weapons, and then just as they turn towards the gate, the people start disappearing, the weapons disappear. That was done. I think the effects and the pacing and all of that was done very well in that scene. Really played up the alienness of the Nox and just how light years they are beyond us.
I really like how she just kind of summons the Stargate without touching the technology at all. That was a really good way to show how much more advanced they were.
And it stayed true to the whole attitude they had when we saw them earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're pacifists, we're not getting involved, we're going to help them. But y'all are still too young, you don't know what you're doing, and kind of like a tisk test, right? Like shake your head and.
Yeah. And I almost think, now that I'm thinking about it too, probably the reason we don't see more of the Nox is because the Asgard kind of fills that role, coming up in, next season. And shortly after that is like, the highly advanced alien race that will actually, work with the humans.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I'm thinking about that. When do we see the Asgard?
The fifth race.
The fifth race. So episode 15 next season.
Nice.
So we got a ways to go.
Halfway.
Yeah.
I like the part at the end where obviously all of SG-1 is in on it, and it seems like everyone else in the complex is too, because the guy's like, the gate is just turning on. I don't know what's happening. And Jack O'Neill is like, oh no, what's going on? Like there's very forced bad acting where they're just trying to be part of it.
And then we get that airwoman who, they disappear just like poof.
Poof, yeah. And they walked through her.
Which, is always a great effect when you see it, but we don't get to see it this time where the person's like, oh, and there's just like, you have that really bad effect of someone walking through them. But it would have been nice to see that, I think. Yeah. Especially if it was like all 15 Tollans or 10 Tollans, Oh, and that's the other thing too, is like, how did SG-1 with a gate that only goes in one direction, how did 4 people evacuate 10 Tollans? Because they weren't dialing up the gate and going back and forth. So did they just like, there were 2 of them holding arms and feet and just like, even just like launching them through the gate, and the candy strippers are there or whatever with the gurneys picking them up, stretchers. I don't know, but.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I thought that maybe the stretcher bearers were going through and grabbing it, but you don't actually see that. You just see them putting them on the stretchers once they get them through. So
yeah. I'm going to go with my headcanon that they were just like launched through the gate.
Just chuck them through. Yeah.
The little ragdoll physics. But no, I mean, obviously I think I like this episode a lot. It was a little talky, but I think it was good talky.
And for once we met a more advanced race versus, most of the planets they've been through have been, less advanced, right? A little more like the Minoans and the
less expensive.
The Nox were more advanced, but they look less, right? So this one, it was more advanced. We don't need you. We don't want to share anything with you. We don't want to talk to you. Don't even thank you for saving us, but like, go away. So that was a nice little change.
Although one of the next examples we get of the Tollan technology is we learn that those little devices that record emotions also record the wearer's health data, like their heart rate. Oh. Highly advanced, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Wow, look how far technology's come.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy.
Oh, and we do not see Omok again.
Oh man,
not alive. No,
such an interesting.
No,
character.
they talk about him, in the next 2 times, but we don't actually see him. So
he's too busy locking people up in murder dungeons, I guess. The actor, not like the character.
Yeah, I didn't see any hallmark on his.
No. I think he kind of aged into that role of like the horror movie villain. If you look at it, like pictures of him like now and stuff.
Yeah, he does.
I don't watch horror movies, so I'm not going to look.
I don't either. But he looks very grizzled now. Which we need more grizzled actors, in my opinion.
They do add a certain gritty gravitas to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing we have not talked about is who wrote this episode.
Oh yes, it was the Catherine Powers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Every episode she has written has been better than that first one.
Yeah, it really has.
The recycled one.
Yeah.
And I think there's less or fewer clunky lines in this one than I think we got in the past episodes.
Yeah, and she did a better job, I thought, this time of kind of bringing the thread through, right, of what's happened in the past and where it's going. So where before, I think we kind of questioned whether or not she knew where it was going and when she wrote things. But this one, I think it much more seamless to the rest of the series.
Yeah. It seems like they're probably also to the point where they kind of have their series Bible built, and they know, like, here's how the characters are going to be, and here's how the world is. Because I think Emancipation was like the 3rd episode of the show.
I think so. It depends if you count that pilot as 2 or 1.
Yeah.
Right. It's like 3rd or 4th. So it was really early on, and they're kind of a wide open slate at that point.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did y'all have any other thoughts?
No, that pretty much wraps it up for me.
Right, we have some feedback. Minerva's Musings on Twitter says, fabulous podcast, especially if you're looking for a thoughtful discussion of each Stargate episode done by hosts who really know the franchise and get the details right. I also love you never hear the F word used as a noun, verb, adjective, or adverb ever. It is wonderful. And that's one of the things we're trying to do is keep the show family friendly.
We never say furlings.
That's right.
We never say furlings on the show.
That's a season 2 reference. Just because Jack looked concerned.
Yeah.
It's like I know a lot of sci-fi franchises have like their made up swear words.
No.
Like that in Stargate.
This is far more disappointing.
Yes.
Nice. Well, I look forward to seeing that.
We do too. We always looked forward to seeing the furlings.
Oh yeah, for 10 years. Yeah, 9 years. Yeah, still do.
Right, well, before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Nancy C., Joe W., Corey P., Cheryl W., and Nathan K. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. You can also join the StarQuest Fan Club mailing list by texting StarQuest to 66866. Send StarQuest to 66866. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG-1, Solitudes. Until then, Lisa Jones, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack, and what your mind doesn't know, your heart fills in.
That's beautiful.
It's just another way of saying we're all primitive.
And once again, I'm Jack Barazzini. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?